Ambassador Zixtar of the Galactic Sports Federation had witnessed countless planetary sporting events across the galaxy, from the brutal gladiatorial contests of Kepler 442b to the anti-gravity racing championships of the Andromeda sector. Few things surprised him anymore. But as his surveillance vessel orbited the third planet of the Sol system, something caught his attention that would change the galaxy forever. His four eyes focused intently on the holographic display as millions of humans gathered in circular structures across the planet. What he witnessed defied every assumption the galaxy had made about this primitive species. "Computer, analyze the emotional resonance patterns from the human settlements," he commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had catalogued the recreational activities of 10,000 worlds. "Sir, the readings are unprecedented. Collective emotional output is reaching levels typically associated with religious ceremonies or territorial conflicts. Heart rate variability suggests the humans are experiencing physiological stress equivalent to life-threatening more." Zixtar leaned forward, his secondary arms manipulating the display controls with practiced precision. The humans were engaged in what appeared to be a simple activity. 22 individuals chasing a spherical object across a grass field, yet somehow this elementary exercise was generating emotional responses that registered on sensors from orbit. "Corinth," he addressed his aide, a crystalline being whose melodic voice could convey complex mathematical concepts through harmonic resonance. "What do our xenopsychologists make of this phenomenon?" "The preliminary analysis suggests we're observing what humans call football or soccer," she replied, her crystalline form shimmering with curiosity. "But sir, the psychological profiles indicate this isn't merely recreational activity. We're detecting tribal bonding mechanisms, collective identity formation, and emotional investment patterns that suggest deep evolutionary significance." The display zoomed in on the Maracanã Stadium in Rio de Janeiro, where 200,000 humans had gathered to witness what their databases identified as the World Cup final. The sheer magnitude of synchronized emotional response was overwhelming Zixtar's analytical systems. What struck him most profoundly wasn't the spectacle itself, but the complexity hidden within. Apparent simplicity. A human player, the databank identified him as Pele, received the ball while surrounded by 3 opponents. In a movement that lasted barely 2 seconds, he controlled the sphere with his chest, flicked it over one defender's head with his foot, spun around a second opponent, and struck the ball with such precision that it curved through the air past the desperate dive of the goalkeeper. The explosion of joy that followed was unlike anything in Zixtar's experience. 200,000 voices became one, creating a sound that resonated not just through the stadium, but across the entire city. Fireworks erupted spontaneously, strangers embraced, groaned, adults wept openly. "This is impossible," Zixtar muttered, his analytical mind struggling to process the data. "How does a species that hasn't achieved faster than light travel create something that generates such profound collective experience?" "Sir, I believe the answer lies in the nature of the activity itself," Corinth observed, her harmonic analysis reaching new frequencies of excitement. "Watch this sequence again, but focus on the decision-making process." The replay showed the same moment from multiple angles, with tactical overlays revealing the mathematical complexity hidden within the human's seemingly instinctive movement. In 1.3 seconds, he had processed the positions and velocities of 21 other players, calculated optimal trajectories while accounting for wind resistance and grass friction, executed precise motor control under extreme pressure, and done it all while being physically challenged by superior opponents. The humans have created a real-time strategic simulation that tests every aspect of cognitive and physical capability, Corinth continued, but they've disguised it as entertainment. They've made the most complex tactical challenge in our database appear effortless and beautiful. Zixtar's tertiary eyes widened as he began to understand the implications. "Run a comparative analysis. How does this football compare to the strategic simulations used by our military academies?" "Processing. Sir, the cognitive load exceeds our most advanced battle scenarios. The humans are essentially conducting continuous war games, but they've somehow made it into art." The match continued, and with each passing minute, Zixtar discovered new layers of complexity. The humans demonstrated not just individual brilliance, but collective intelligence that bordered on telepathic. They anticipated each other's movements, created opportunities through geometric precision, and adapted their strategies in real time based on their opponent's responses. But what truly amazed him was the emotional dimension. When the losing team's captain fell to his knees in defeat, his face showed a grief so profound it seemed to encompass the sorrow of his entire species. Yet when the winning captain lifted the trophy, his joy was equally transcendent, pure, unbridled ecstasy that somehow elevated everyone who witnessed it. This isn't just sport, Zixtar realized. It's a perfect expression of their entire civilization. They've taken the fundamental challenges of existence, competition, cooperation, individual excellence, collective achievement, and transformed them into something that creates meaning rather than merely determining winners and losers. As his ship prepared to return to Federation space, Zixtar took one final look at the planet. Below, across every continent, humans were still celebrating, still processing the emotional impact of what they had witnessed. They had created something that transcended mere entertainment to become a shared experience that unified their species despite their countless differences. "Prepare a priority transmission to the Federation Council," he ordered. "Mark it as paradigm shift, potential cultural revolution. It appears we have significantly underestimated the sophistication of human recreational development." "Sir, shall I include the standard disclaimer about primitive species' limited relevance to galactic civilization?" Zixtar paused, watching as a group of human children kicked a makeshift ball through improvised goals, their faces showing the same joy he had witnessed in the stadium. "No. Corinth, I believe the galaxy is about to discover that the most advanced civilizations sometimes have the most to learn from the simplest truths." The beautiful game had claimed its first alien observer, but the galaxy had no idea what was coming. 6 months after Ambassador Zixtar's report reached the Federation Council, humanity received its first official invitation to participate in the Galactic Athletic Championships. The quantum-transmitted message caused immediate chaos in the hastily assembled United Nations emergency session, where representatives from every nation struggled to comprehend the magnitude of the opportunity. Dr. Rebecca Martinez, the newly appointed director of Earth's Interstellar Relations Department, stood before the packed assembly hall as the alien ambassador's message played for the third time. A former NASA administrator with a PhD in xenobiology, she had been chosen for her ability to think beyond terrestrial limitations, a skill that was about to be tested like never before. "Greetings, humans of Earth." The translated voice resonated through the chamber with undertones that suggested both curiosity and condescension. "The Galactic Sports Federation formally invites your species to participate in the 847th Interspecies Athletic Championships to be held in the Vega system in one Earth year. You may select one sporting discipline to represent your world. We await your response with interest." The word interest carried implications that made it clear the galaxy expected entertainment rather than competition. The debate that followed was as passionate as it was predictable. Dr. Yuki Tanaka from Japan argued for showcasing human precision through archery. The German representative pushed for engineering excellence through Formula One racing. The Kenyan delegate advocated for marathon running, highlighting human endurance capabilities. But it was Carlos Mendoza, a former FIFA president whose weathered face had seen football transform from a simple game into humanity's universal language, who stood up with a suggestion that silenced the room. "Football," he said simply, his voice carrying the weight of decades spent watching the sport. "Unite enemies and divide friends. We send our best football team." The silence stretched for nearly a minute before the laughter began, nervous chuckles that quickly became full-throated dismissal from most of the assembly. "Carlos, with respect," Dr. Martinez said, her voice carrying the frustration of someone tasked with making humanity's first impression on the galaxy. "We have the chance to show advanced civilizations our greatest achievements. You want to send people to kick a ball around?" "Not just any ball," Carlos replied, his eyes gleaming with the fervor of a man who had watched football matches end wars and start revolutions. "The most important ball in human history." He activated the chamber's holographic display, showing scenes from the previous World Cup final. The assembly watched in stunned silence as 3.5 billion humans experienced simultaneous joy and heartbreak, their lives fundamentally altered by the trajectory of a single leather sphere. "Ladies and gentlemen, Carlos continued, his voice growing stronger with each word. No human achievement has ever united our species like football. Not the moon landing, not the internet, not the discovery of fire. Nothing has ever brought together more humans in shared emotional experience than this game. Dr. Martinez shook her head. But they'll expect us to demonstrate human superiority. They have species that can manipulate gravity, others that can process information faster than our supercomputers. What's superior about running around a field? Everything, Carlos replied, his passion beginning to infect the room. Do you know what football really is? It's humanity's answer to the ultimate question. How do you create beauty from chaos? How do you find meaning in conflict? How do you turn individual excellence into collective triumph? He brought up tactical analyses that few in the room had ever seen, mathematical models, showing the geometric precision of passing sequences, psychological profiles revealing the mental fortitude required to perform under pressure, sociological studies demonstrating how football created social cohesion across cultural divides. The galaxy thinks we're primitives, Carlos said, his voice now carrying the authority of someone who had witnessed football's transformative power across 6 continents. They expect us to embarrass ourselves with our crude technology and limited understanding. But what if we show them something they've never seen before? What if we show them perfection disguised as simplicity? James Morrison, the British representative, leaned forward with interest. Even if we agreed to this proposal, how do we choose a team? We can't hold a World Cup in 12 months. We don't choose a team, Carlos smiled, revealing the vision that had been forming in his mind since the moment he heard the alien invitation. We create one. Players from every football culture, every style of play, every continent. We show them that human strength isn't in individual superiority. It's in our ability to synthesize differences into something greater than the sum of its parts. The Russian delegate raised his hand. What about the physical differences? Surely alien species will require rule modifications? Standard FIFA regulations, Carlos replied without hesitation. We play our game by our rules on our terms. We show them what humans can do when we're in our element. And if they can't adapt, he shrugged, that's their problem. The debate continued for hours, but something had shifted in the room. Nation after nation began to see the wisdom in Carlos's radical proposal. Football wasn't just a sport, it was humanity's greatest cultural export, a perfect expression of everything that made their species unique in the galaxy. Dr. Martinez found herself remembering her childhood in Texas, watching her father weep as Mexico was eliminated from the World Cup. She thought of her daughter, who had learned to speak Spanish by cheering for Barcelona matches. She remembered the 1995 Women's World Cup, when she had watched Mia Hamm transform girls' sports forever with a single penalty kick. You're talking about more than just a game, she said quietly. You're talking about sending our soul to the stars. Exactly, Carlos nodded. The galaxy has faster ships, stronger weapons, more advanced technology. But do they have passion? Do they have the ability to create something so beautiful that it transcends the limitations of physics and becomes art? When the final vote was called, the result was unanimous. Earth would send a football team to the Galactic Athletic Championships. As the assembly dispersed, Dr. Martinez approached Carlos. You realize this is insane. We'll be competing against species that might not even need to breathe, might not understand fatigue, might possess cognitive abilities we can't even imagine. Carlos nodded, his eyes already focused on the task ahead. But they've never experienced the beautiful game. They don't know what it means to create a perfect pass under pressure, to score in the dying seconds of a match, to feel the heartbreak of a penalty shootout. They think they're superior because they can bend space and time. He paused, looking at the tactical display still showing the fluid movements of human players at their peak. But can they make 100,000 beings weep with joy from the beauty of a single moment? Can they create something so pure that it transcends language, culture, and species? That's what we're bringing to the galaxy. Not just athletic competition, but proof that the most advanced civilizations sometimes overlook the most profound truths. As news of the decision spread across Earth, the response was immediate and overwhelming. For the first time in human history, the entire species was united behind a single team, carrying the hopes, dreams, and identity of 8 billion people to the stars. The galaxy was about to discover that humans had been preparing for this moment, their entire evolutionary history, They just hadn't realized it yet. The Galactic Athletic Championships Committee was in unprecedented chaos. For the first time in the tournament's 846-year history, they had to accommodate a sport none of them had ever seen before. What had initially seemed like a simple request, a rectangular field, 2 goals and a ball, was revealing complexities that challenged their understanding of athletic competition itself. Admiral Crixtal of the Rigel hegemony, whose 8 arms had mastered the galaxy's most complex simultaneous motion sport, studied the human rulebook with growing fascination and frustration. His species had evolved perfect coordination, capable of manipulating dozens of objects simultaneously with mathematical precision. Yet this human game seemed to deliberately reject such advantages. "I still don't understand," he communicated to his tactical analysis team through bioelectric pulses. "The humans have created elaborate rules prohibiting the use of hands, limiting substitutions and requiring continuous play for extended periods. It's as if they've intentionally handicapped themselves." Dr. Vorth, the Rigel system's foremost expert in competitive psychology, shifted her crystalline form to better project her thoughts. Perhaps that's exactly what makes it brilliant. By constraining their options, they've forced themselves to achieve perfection within limitations. It's like choosing to paint a masterpiece with only 3 colors, then discovering combinations that wouldn't exist with a full palette. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were taking place among species that had never encountered the concept of artificial limitation, enhancing rather than reducing performance. The Andromedan speed racers, accustomed to competitions measured in nanoseconds, couldn't comprehend a sport where patience and timing were more valuable than pure velocity. Commander Fluxara of the Quantum Collective was experiencing something unprecedented for her species: confusion. Her people existed in a state of probability, able to perceive multiple potential outcomes simultaneously. But human football seemed to operate on principles that defied mathematical prediction. "This should be impossible," she communicated to her research cluster through quantum entanglement. "I can calculate the optimal trajectory for every pass, the most efficient movement patterns for every player, the statistically superior strategy for every situation. Yet, when I observe human matches, the team that should win mathematically often loses to what they call heart and determination." She projected a holographic analysis of the 2014 World Cup final, showing Germany's systematic dismantling of Brazil's defense. Germany executed a perfect tactical plan. Their passes were precisely weighted, their movements geometrically optimal, their decision-making algorithmically superior. Yet the Brazilian players' emotional response to their defeat registered as genuine grief, not disappointment at a failed strategy, but sorrow at the loss of something ineffable. The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Urian, a xenopsychologist from the Tau Seri Research Institute, had been studying human behavior for decades. His report to the Championship Committee was both enlightening and disturbing to species that had long ago optimized the emotion out of competition. "Human football is not merely a physical contest," he explained to the assembled alien officials, his translator struggling to convey concepts that had no equivalent in most galactic languages. "It's a complex psychological phenomenon that simultaneously satisfies multiple evolutionary drives: the tribal warfare instinct, the aesthetic appreciation of beauty, the need for individual expression within group dynamics, and the fundamental human drive to create meaning from chaos." He paused, allowing his words to be processed by beings whose brains operated on entirely different principles. But most importantly, it's a perfect simulation of human existence itself. Every match is a microcosm of life, periods of struggle punctuated by moments of transcendence, individual brilliance emerging from collective effort, the constant tension between order and chaos. The Zephyrian military attaché, Admiral Sixrin, whose species had evolved specifically for strategic thinking, had been analyzing human football through the lens of tactical warfare. What he discovered challenged every assumption about optimal combat strategy. "I observe this sequence," he demonstrated to his war council, using quantum projectors to display Lionel Messi's famous goal against Getafe in 2007. The human player receives the ball in a tactically disadvantageous position, surrounded by multiple opponents. Any logical analysis would suggest passing to a teammate in a superior position. The hologram slowed to show Messi's run, highlighting the positions of all players and the mathematical probabilities of success for each possible decision. Instead, he chooses the statistically worst option, a solo run through the entire opposing team. Yet watch the execution. The display showed Messi's subtle changes of pace, his ability to shift his center of gravity in ways that seemed to violate physics, his instinctive understanding of space and timing that bordered on prescience. This isn't just athletic ability, Admiral Sixren continued, his voice carrying the awe of a master strategist recognizing superior tactics. This is advanced pattern recognition, spatial intelligence and predictive processing operating at superhuman levels. The human brain is somehow calculating hundreds of variables simultaneously while maintaining perfect motor control under extreme pressure. The implications were staggering. The galaxy's most advanced military strategists were realizing that human football players routinely performed cognitive feats that would challenge their most sophisticated tactical computers. But perhaps the most profound insight came from the ethereal collective, beings of pure energy who had long ago transcended physical form. They had initially dismissed football as crude matter manipulation, but their analysis revealed something that shook their understanding of consciousness itself. The humans are not just moving a ball, Elder Zephyr communicated through harmonic resonance to the championship committee. They are creating temporary works of art that exist only in the moment of their execution. Each pass, each movement, each strategic decision is simultaneously functional and aesthetic. They have found a way to make necessity beautiful. The committee watched in stunned silence as the ethereal collective projected what they called the pure form of football, the geometric patterns created by player movements, the mathematical elegance of successful passing combinations, the way individual creativity could transform predictable tactical structures into something transcendent. We had assumed that consciousness evolved to solve problems, Elder Zephyr continued, but the humans have proven that the highest form of consciousness creates beauty while solving problems. They have not just mastered football, they have discovered how to transform constraint into art. As the various species prepared for the tournament, they began to understand that they weren't just facing another sporting competition. They were encountering something uniquely human, a perfect fusion of physical excellence, mental sophistication, and aesthetic beauty that had been refined over centuries into something approaching perfection. The practice sessions that followed were humbling. Species that had conquered interstellar travel struggled to understand why the ball wouldn't go where they wanted it to go. Athletes who could manipulate matter at the molecular level couldn't comprehend why the humans made it look so effortless. But the real shock came when the human team arrived at the tournament site. The aliens had expected either primitive athletes or genetically enhanced specimens. Instead, they found something far more dangerous, a team of artists who had spent their entire lives perfecting their craft, each carrying the dreams and expectations of 8 billion people, ready to demonstrate that the most advanced science sometimes pales before the most beautiful art. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans decided to create something perfect, they didn't just solve the problem, they transformed it into poetry. The Vega System Championship Complex was a marvel of galactic engineering, its bio-neural networks capable of adapting to any conceivable sporting requirement. Crystal spires stretched across multiple dimensions, gravity-defying platforms hosted antimatter, racing and quantum fields contained battles between beings of pure energy. Yet the most attention was focused on the simplest arena of all, a rectangular field of genetically modified grass where 22 humans would soon face the galaxy's most formidable athletes. Captain Maria Santos stood in the tunnel, her weathered hands adjusting the armband that made her the first human to captain a team representing the entire planet. A former streeter, footballer from Sao Paulo, who had fought her way through poverty to become one of the game's greatest tacticians, she carried the weight of human hopes with the quiet dignity of someone who had already overcome impossible odds. Behind her, the Earth United team represented humanity's football evolution. There was Kwame Osei, the Ghanaian midfielder whose father had taught him to control the ball before he could walk. Dmitry Volkov, the Russian defender whose grandfather had played in the Siege of Stalingrad, using football to maintain sanity in hell. Isabella Rodriguez, the Mexican forward who had grown up playing barefoot on dirt fields, her first professional boots a gift from a coach who recognized genius wrapped in poverty. Each player carried not just their own story, but the story of football itself, the game that had grown from British schoolyards to become humanity's universal language, the sport that had survived wars, crossed cultural divides, and created moments of beauty that transcended the boundaries of mere competition. "Remember," Maria called to her teammates, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had led teams to victory in World Cup finals. "We're not just representing our countries today, we're representing the beautiful game itself. Play like humans, with intelligence, with passion, and with the joy that makes football ours." Their first opponent was the crystalline collective of Kepler 442b, a species whose bodies could reshape themselves at will and whose coordination bordered on telepathic. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, they moved with geometric precision that had the alien spectators nodding in approval. Their analysis of human football had been thorough, their physical preparation extensive, and their confidence absolute. The opening ceremony was deliberately brief. The galaxy had little patience for human sentiment when the spectacle itself promised to be so entertaining. As the teams took the field, the contrast was jarring. The human players looked like children beside their crystalline opponents, who caught the artificial light and reflected it in perfect geometric patterns. The referee, a neutral quantum being that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, activated the temporal field that ensured fairness across all species. The ball was placed at the center circle, and for a moment that seemed to stretch across space-time, the entire galaxy held its breath. The match began exactly as everyone expected. The crystalline collective used their superior size and strength to dominate the early exchanges, their perfectly coordinated movements creating patterns that were beautiful in their mathematical precision. When they scored their first goal after 12 minutes, a display of geometric perfection that had the alien spectators appreciating the aesthetic quality of dominant performance, it seemed to confirm the galaxy's expectations. But then Isabella Rodriguez did something that changed everything. Receiving the ball under pressure from 2 crystalline defenders, she didn't try to match their strength or outmuscle their coordination. Instead, she did something uniquely human. She improvised. A subtle shift of her hips made the first defender crystallize in the wrong direction. A gentle touch with the outside of her foot sent the ball between the legs of the second, and suddenly she was through. The crystalline collective's goalkeeper, a being that could expand to cover the entire goal, mouth positioned himself to block what seemed like an impossible angle. But Isabella didn't shoot where the goal was. She shot where she knew it would be, curling the ball around the goalkeeper's extended form just as he contracted back to standard size. The human section of the crowd erupted, but more importantly, the alien spectators fell silent. They had just witnessed something that challenged their understanding of optimal performance. A physically inferior being had overcome superior opponents not through better technology or enhanced capabilities, but through creativity and prediction. The match continued, and with each passing minute, the humans revealed new dimensions of their game. Kwame Ose showed the galaxy what anticipation meant, intercepting passes, not by being faster than his opponents, but by understanding their intentions before they did. Dmitry Volkov demonstrated the art of the perfectly timed tackle, turning defensive actions into offensive opportunities through precise reading of the game. But it was the team's response to adversity that truly amazed the watching beings. When the crystalline collective scored their second goal, the human players didn't panic or resort to desperate measures. Instead, they showed something the galaxy had never seen in athletic competition: the ability to transform disappointment into determination. The equalizer came from an unexpected source: Marcus Johnson, the English centre-back, whose grandfather had been a coal miner and whose father had been a factory worker, had been studying his opponent's crystalline structure throughout the match. He noticed that rapid temperature changes made their formations briefly vulnerable at the molecular level. So when a corner kick came his way, he didn't try to outjump his towering markers. Instead, he used his breath, warm air from his lungs, to create a momentary temperature differential that caused the nearest crystalline defender to hesitate for a fraction of a second. It was enough. His header found the corner of the goal with the precision of a master craftsman. The winning goal was pure human poetry. The team moved the ball through 23 passes, each touch revealing new layers of understanding between players who had never competed together before this tournament. The ball flowed across the field like water, each pass pulling the crystalline collective further out of their geometric formations until they were chasing shadows. When the final pass reached Ahmed Hassan, the Egyptian winger who had learned to play By kicking tin cans through the streets of Cairo, he was alone with the goalkeeper. But instead of shooting immediately, he demonstrated something uniquely human, the ability to create drama from certainty. He waited, allowing the goalkeeper to commit to one side, then gently rolled the ball to the other, with the casual precision of a grandfather teaching his grandchild. The final whistle brought chaos. The human players collapsed in exhaustion and joy, embracing each other with the abandon of people who had just achieved the impossible. The crystalline collective stood in perfect formation, their geometrically precise bodies reflecting the stadium lights as they processed defeat by a species they had considered mathematically inferior. In the commentator's booth, beings from across the galaxy struggled to explain what they had witnessed. The Zephyrian tactical expert, whose species had mastered strategic thinking, admitted his complete bafflement. "I have analyzed human football extensively," he communicated to his audience through bioelectric pulses. "I understand their tactics, their formations, their statistical probabilities, but what I observe today transcends analysis. They are not just playing a game, they are creating art in real time, solving problems that haven't been invented yet, finding beauty in solutions that shouldn't exist." The Andromedan speed racer, whose people experience time differently than most species, was equally amazed. "They play for 90 minutes, but the outcome is determined by moments of individual brilliance that cannot be predicted, replicated, or even properly explained. It's as if they transform probability itself through collective will." But it was the quantum beings' analysis that came closest to the truth. They are not competing against their opponents, Fluxara observed through quantum resonance. They are competing against the limitations of possibility itself. They have found a way to make the impossible seem inevitable, not through superior technology or enhanced physiology, but through something we had not expected to encounter in this tournament: pure artistic expression under the constraints of athletic competition. As the human team celebrated their victory, the galaxy began to understand that they were witnessing something unprecedented in the history of interspecies competition. This wasn't just athletic excellence, it was humanity's greatest cultural achievement being demonstrated at the highest level, proving that the most advanced civilizations sometimes had the most to learn from the most beautiful simplicities. The next round would bring even greater challenges, but for the first time since leaving Earth, the human players believed they could show the galaxy what it truly meant to be human. The beautiful game had claimed its first galactic victims, and the universe was beginning to suspect that the real surprise wasn't that humans could compete, it was that they could make competition transcendent. 1 year after the Galactic Athletic Championships concluded, Ambassador Zixtar stood before the Federation Council with a report that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of cultural evolution. The chamber, which had once echoed with the sounds of interstellar commerce and military strategy, now resonated with an unexpected new language, the terminology of football. "Esteemed representatives," Zixtar began, his four eyes scanning the assembled delegates from 12,000 worlds, "I present the final analysis of what historians are already calling the human cultural revolution. The sport of football has achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. It has become the first truly universal form of entertainment, transcending species barriers that we previously thought absolute." The holographic display activated, showing scenes that would have been impossible to imagine just 2 years earlier. On the crystal worlds of Rigel, silicon-based beings had constructed football pitches from pure diamond, their bodies adapting to create new forms of ball control that defied previous understanding of physics. The gravitational manipulators of the Andromeda sector had developed zero-gravity variations that resembled aerial ballet more than traditional sport. "The numbers," Zixtar continued, "speak to a transformation that extends far beyond mere entertainment. Football broadcasts now reach 847 trillion beings across our known galaxy. More significantly, it has generated 2.3 million new interspecies communications protocols, 847,000 cultural exchange programs, and direct economic activity exceeding the gross domestic product of entire star systems." Dr. Rebecca Martinez, now serving as Earth's first galactic sports ambassador, stood to address the council. Her promotion from Director of Interstellar Relations to this new position reflected humanity's unexpected role as the galaxy's cultural teachers, rather than its pupils. "Honored representatives," she began, her voice carrying the confidence of someone who had watched her species transform from galactic curiosity to galactic necessity. When we first accepted your invitation to the championships, we thought we were simply showcasing human athletic ability. We had no idea we were introducing a form of artistic expression that would revolutionize interspecies understanding. She activated her own display, showing the tournament's final match. The human team had faced the collective consciousness of Tau Ceti, a hive mind species that could coordinate thousands of individuals with perfect precision. The match should have been a mathematical impossibility for humans to win. 22 individuals facing an opponent that functioned as a single, perfectly coordinated organism. But football, as the galaxy was learning, had never been about what should be possible. The final match taught us something profound about consciousness itself, Dr. Martinez continued. When faced with perfect coordination, our players didn't try to match it. Instead, they demonstrated something uniquely human, the ability to create beauty from chaos, to find opportunity in uncertainty, to transform individual creativity into collective transcendence. The winning goal had become galactic legend, with the match tied 2-2 and injury time expiring. The ball had reached Lucia Mendoza, the 19-year-old from Buenos Aires who had been selected for the team as much for her infectious joy as her technical ability. Receiving the ball just inside the opponent's half, she had begun what would become known as the run that changed the galaxy. For 47 seconds, Lucia had dribbled through the entire Tau Ceti collective, not through superior speed or strength, but through an intuitive understanding of space and timing that seemed to transcend the laws of physics. She moved as if she could see the future, as if the ball was an extension of her consciousness, as if she was dancing to music that only she could hear. The goal itself, a gentle tap into an empty net after drawing the goalkeeper impossibly out of position, was almost anticlimactic. But the journey to that goal had been a perfect demonstration of human creativity under pressure, individual brilliance emerging from collective support, and the transformation of athletic competition into pure art. The reaction across the galaxy had been immediate and profound. Species that had never experienced aesthetic appreciation suddenly understood the concept of beauty. Beings who had optimized emotion out of their existence found themselves experiencing what humans called joy. The Tau Ceti collective, after their defeat, had requested permission to study human creativity, beginning the first systematic interspecies research into the nature of artistic expression. But the most significant change, Dr. Martinez explained to the Council, has been the formation of the Galactic Football Federation. What began as a simple sporting organization has evolved into something unprecedented, a truly interspecies cultural institution that has fostered understanding between civilizations that had never communicated before. The economic implications were staggering. The GFF was now the galaxy's largest employer, with 847 million beings working in football-related industries. Equipment manufacturers were struggling to keep pace with demand from species whose physiology required entirely new approaches to ball control. The Andromedan speed racers had developed balls that could maintain coherence at near-light speeds. The crystalline collective had created goals that could reshape themselves to accommodate different species' shooting abilities. But beyond economics, football had catalyzed changes that went to the heart of galactic civilization. For the first time in recorded history, different species were actively seeking to understand each other through shared activity. The Rigel hegemony had established exchange programs with Earth's football academies. The Zephyrian military had adopted human tactical thinking, finding that football strategies improved their combat effectiveness. Even the quantum beings had discovered that linear time made more sense when experienced through the 90-minute structure of a football match. Admiral Sixerin of the Zephyrian Tactical Command provided the military perspective. The humans have demonstrated that the most advanced strategy sometimes involves abandoning strategy entirely, their ability to improvise, to create solutions in real time, to transform limitations into advantages. These are capabilities that no military academy in the galaxy teaches, yet they are precisely what modern warfare requires. The cultural impact was equally profound. Football clubs were forming across the galaxy, bringing together beings who had never imagined they could share common ground. The same Andromedan Rigel Derby had become the most watched interspecies event in galactic history. The Tau Ceti collective had developed a variation of football that could be played by thousands of individuals simultaneously, creating a form of athletic performance that resembled a symphony more than a sport. But perhaps the most significant change was in how the galaxy viewed competition itself. Before football, athletic contests had been about demonstrating superiority, faster, stronger, more advanced. Football had introduced the concept of beauty in competition, the idea that how you won could be more important than whether you won. The ethereal collective, beings of pure energy who had initially dismissed football as crude, matter manipulation, had become some of the game's most passionate advocates. The humans have taught us that consciousness is not just about solving problems, Elder Zephyr communicated through harmonic resonance. It is about creating beauty while solving problems. They have shown us that the highest form of intelligence is not optimization, but artistic expression under constraint. As the council session concluded, delegates from hundreds of worlds approached the human representatives with the same request that had been echoing across the galaxy for months: teach us the beautiful game. Dr. Martinez looked around the chamber, remembering the fear and uncertainty she had felt. When humanity first received the invitation to the championships, they had worried about embarrassing themselves, about confirming their primitive status in the galactic community. Instead, they had done something unprecedented. They had taught the galaxy that the most advanced civilizations sometimes learned the most from the simplest truths. The final scene of the session showed the current state of football across the galaxy. On a thousand worlds, beings of every conceivable form were kicking, manipulating, and controlling balls with whatever appendages they possessed. Children from species that had never known play were learning to find joy in simple games. Adults from civilizations that had perfected efficiency were discovering the beauty of imperfection. But perhaps the most profound image was from Earth itself. In the same stadium where Pelé had once performed miracles, human children were now playing alongside young beings from across the galaxy. They couldn't speak each other's languages, their biologies were completely different, and their cultures had evolved on worlds separated by thousands of light years. But they all understood the universal language of football. As the session ended, Ambassador Zixtar reflected on the transformation he had witnessed. The galaxy had gained more than just a new sport. It had discovered that the most advanced civilizations sometimes needed to learn from the most unexpected teachers. The humans had shown them that beauty, creativity, and joy were not evolutionary luxuries, but fundamental requirements for true advancement. The beautiful game had gone galactic, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the end, we learned that football was never about the ball, the goals, or even the game itself. It was about the human capacity to create meaning from chaos, to find beauty in struggle, and to transform competition into art. The galaxy thought it was adopting a human sport, but in reality, humanity was sharing its greatest gift, the ability to make the ordinary extraordinary. Final entry in the Galactic Football Federation's official history, written by Dr. Rebecca Martinez, first ambassador of the beautiful game.